Good morning. Now we go to the last area of our Shelley defense of poetry. That last day we had been discussing the theory of his theory of poetry, and now we go to somewhat function of the poetry that he envisages in his treatise Defense of Poetry. So whatever we discuss in the class, you refer to your textbook and prepare a beautiful summary of it. And in case any type of difficulty, do not hesitate to text me. We will give you maximum support in this area. So what our plan is now to discuss what all the areas that he deliberately puts forward in the field of function of poetry. That is the topic now we discuss. At last now we come across that he finds a certain relation of poetic world to the scientific world. That is why poetry relation with the science he envisages in his treatise. What is the relation of poetry with science? And in a way or another way, Shelley calls a poet is like a scientist. A scientist's mission is to investigate and search and research and invent a new thing, right? Invention is always different from discovery, that you know. So invention is finding something new. So poet as a scientist plans to investigate certain things by his own innermost feelings and emotions. He searches and searches and searches and reaches in a particular resolution where he finds his maximum satisfaction. That is why he calls a poet as like a scientist. Poet is like a scientist, or he himself is a scientist who invents novel things and new ideas. That may be the reason. So two disciplines, actually poetry as a field and science as a field, not in a way incompatible. But you know, in once the method you apply there, the science, the method that you follow will be the same method that you follow in literature, poetry. So for that purpose, he makes imagination as a topic that we saw in S.T. Coleridge. Primary imagination, secondary imagination, all these are interconnected, as you know, when the reference goes to emotions. That emotions were given much importance by Wordsworth. But once you come to our Coleridge, now the emotions are going away from the main track and imagination comes as a milestone there. Where you find here in Shelley, imagination is comprehending all types of sciences. Imagination, again, as S.T. Coleridge says, Shelley also admits it plays a key role in the scientific activity, scientific method of, the areas by which a poet makes his journey. So scientific imagination, not primary or secondary imagination, what meant by our Coleridge in his Biographia Literaria, is not cope up with the imagination that put forward by Shelley in his defense of poetry. So it is something scientific. It is not in the ephemeral sense, but it is in the scientific sense. So imagination is supported by scientific method. So poetry, actually, Shelley says, poetry is something superior to science, not akin to science. Science is systematic study of knowledge. You know, if anybody asks you, the definition of what is called science. Science is nothing. Science means systematic study of knowledge. That is systematic. That word is important in the scientific studies. In the same way, poetry and literature is systematic, based on a system. Just like we studied in linguistics, what is system? Language is system of systems. In the way, literature is also systematic, which comes as a part of science. So poetry investigates another point, external, external truth. It comes, it elicits out, it describes external truth. The poet might have kept certain ideas in his mind. These ideas may not be cope up with the truth what is prevailed in the society. But Shelley is very sure that poet should cope up with the ideas what is externally admitted as truth. Poetry is images of life. It is images of life. Images of life. It comes around images, certain images what we have, images of life. It is coming to be, or it comes to be more philosophical. So these three important philosophical. If there is no philosophy applied in a piece of literature, it means nothing. It does not mean to be a piece of literature. So it should be systematic, it should be scientific, it should investigate what the truth of life, and it should maintain the external truth of expression, and it should be philosophical. These important 5 points he means once a poet tries to write the poem. So these these ideas you have to keep in mind. Slowly he wants to discuss what is called function of poetry. Alright, what is the role of the poetry in human life? What is called the function of poetry? Alright, this is the last area. Alright, last area of Shelley's treatise or essay. What is called function of the poetry? Which all the points that you will keep in mind. So once they ask, sometimes they will ask you this, though it is written concept of poetry, function of poetry may also be applied in the essay by point. So once they ask what, according to P.B. Shelley, is the function of poetry, that you have to discuss. So I'll give you certain points that you elaboratively discuss, then the essay will be the fulfillment of your satisfaction. So function of poetry according to Shelley, what all the areas, in which area of function or in which area poetry should function, or what is the meaning, or what is its alright message, or what all the fields by which a poetry should be written, what is its objective, what is its function. Function number 1 is, it should have, so you write point by point, it should have moral function. Alright, very simple one, moral function. Moral function written by Shelley is called perfection. Moral function means what? After reading a piece of poetry, the reader should get a moral message. Otherwise poetry ceases to be poetry. No meaning in writing poetry. So once you go through the poem by Shelley, Skylark, once you go for West Wind, Prometheus Unbound, once you go to Autumns by Keats, once you go to Solitary Reaper by Wordsworth, Intimations of Immortality of Wordsworth, then after reading, after comprehending the poem, you should get moral perfection. Perfection means moral function. You should get a perfection of morality. If there is no morality, moral perfection, poem, nothing. So chief ideal of perfection is the chief function of poetry. Poem expression of poet's innermost feelings. All right, innermost feelings. Innermost feeling. All right, moral function. Once it is maintained moral function, you should be aware of that poet, by the way of his innocence, he presents innermost feeling that should be adjustable, cope up with, satisfied with the society. So aspirations, dreams and ideals. Poet has so many aspirations. All right, aspiration, then dreams, then feelings. All right, all these are connected, interconnected. Better say, in collaborated with his own feeling, that should be satisfied by the society. So the main function is moral concept. The moral concept is given to the public, given to the reader only by his aspiration, by his dreams and by his feelings. That those feelings, dreams, what is called aspiration would have been investigated by the poet only to execute or only to transport these ideas into the world of the reader. Then the reader will understand what the poet is meant by that, or what is the aspiration of the poet, or what is the dream of the poet, or what is the present feeling of the poet. These 3 to 4 areas are conveyed to the reader is the main transporting methodology of the poem, as he says in his defense of poetry. Then second function, he says that is you copy down second area. All right, poet is a reformer. He says poet a reformer of the society. Poet is a reformer. So second, point by point by point, you discuss what is the function according to Shelley of the poetry. Then you take first one, moral concept, moral message of the poetry. Second one, poet himself turns to be a reformer. All right, just like Shakespeare did a lot of reforms. What do you call it? Dante has done, then Wordsworth has done lot of reforms in the society. In the way, Shelley says, poet will always be a reformer of the society. A good poem is a pleasing vehicle for useful momentous instruction, he says. A good poem is a vehicle of pleasure. Just like a bucket of gift, what do we call packet of gifts? Like a poem is really a bucket of pleasure, a what do you call packet of pleasure, or just like a vehicle carries a lot of pleasurable activities. Look what a beauty he has written for that. Then so poet in the society would make a lot of reforms. Depending on the culture, depending on the society, depending on the language, depending on the village life, depending on the town life, all people can write. Poets can make a lot of reforms, he believes. And third function, all right, this is second function over. Now third function, he says, it is a divine appeal. There is a divine appeal. Shelley says poet is almost similar to God. All right, he is beside God, sitting beside God. He is like a prophet that we discussed in the previous class. Say poet is just like a prophet besides God. God gives all types of information, all types of spirit to a poet who sits beside him. That is why, for Shelley, poet is just like a prophet. So, whatever he says will be having divine appeal. Alright. So, moral appealing finish, poet becomes a reformer and poet becomes divine power related to God. So he emphasizes the main area of divinity, whichever God says, the element of love. Element of love is promulgated. Element of love is appealed. Element of love is always expressed in almost all poems written by romantic revival poets. All right, including Shelley. So, great secret of morality is love. Great secret. So, third function is divine divinity. Then now he goes to pleasure and poetry, another function, very important area that they will ask you. Alright, fourth one is called pleasure. Alright, pleasure and poetry. How poetry related to pleasure? You know, this area is very complicated and this area is deliberatively discussed by the poet. First thing, keep in mind, P.B. Shelley, alright, the poet plans and very deliberatively tells that poetry is meant for pleasure. Alright, that is a very important point. It is meant for pleasure. He won't allow anybody to be very unhappy after reading a poetry, after reading a piece of poem. He wanted all his poems are meant at last you will be getting a pleasure. So, poetry's objective is to make you pleasurable. Then he goes to discuss what is pleasure. He says two types of pleasure. Just like Coleridge says two types of imagination. Here, P.B. Shelley says we have two types of pleasure. One is permanent pleasure. Alright, permanent pleasure. So, pleasure has two functions. One has permanent pleasure. Alright, second one is transitory. Alright, transitory pleasure. So, like Coleridge, Shelley says two types of pleasure is there. One is permanent one is transitory. Transitory means what? Only ad hoc basis. Ad hoc basis means what? Temporary. Temporary means what? Only momentary. Momentary means what? Only for this time. Alright, after that we will forget. So, we have permanent pleasure and temporary or transitory momentary pleasure. How can you differentiate? That is the question. I will explain. He says, you listen carefully. Sometimes your friend gives you a gift. Your friend gives you a gift. Then you will get a pleasure. Are you okay? You will get a pleasure. That is the primary thing. Once you receive a gift from your friend, you will get a pleasure. You will be smiling. But he goes in another extent. Suppose your friend gets a prize or gift from others. That moment your presence is there. Then if you feel pleasure, you are very joyful. You are very joyful. This joyful is also temporary. Means what? Your happiness, your pleasure, once you got a prize, it is called, what is called pleasure. That pleasure is simply transitory. Once your friend gets a gift from others, that time you are there, then you get a pleasure. That also called what is called joy, or what is called your pleasure accompanied by your friend's pleasure. But you know, your friend and you, after getting prizes and gift from others, you celebrate this moment with other totally good number of friends. So all people are very happy, feeling pleasure. That pleasure is permanent. That permanent pleasure is called happiness. I will explain once again what is called a temporary pleasure, what is called a permanent pleasure. To reach permanent pleasure, we have to overcome lot of transitory pleasure. Once we get a gift from others, we are feeling pleasure. Once your friend gets a gift from others, that time you are there, you also really feel happiness. You are sharing the joy of your friend. But your friend and you celebrate this moment with a group of friends in a hotel or somewhere, or in a family get together. You all the people become happy. That is the realm of, that is the area of total happiness. That happiness is permanent happiness, he says. So poetry is meant for divine pleasure. So it is not meant for transitory pleasure. It is meant for permanent pleasure. In what way? You have to communicate this idea from the poet to so many poets, so many others. So everybody will be enjoying. That will lead to a total happiness. This total happiness is available only from the angle of permanent pleasure. That is why. So poetry is meant for permanent pleasure. Then poetry is instrument of social progress. Fifth one, it is meant for social progress. Now I discuss all the areas of function of poetry. He says there is a social progress, or poetry becomes an instrument to progress a society. Poetry not cause of degeneration. He does not want to understand after reading and enjoying a poetry. Nobody should face failure in life. Nobody should fail in life. Everybody should be successful. Shelley says, so socially there will be a progress by reading a good poem or poetry. So man is the master of inner world. He says, there should be an electric life. There should be an energetic life. There should be a mesmerized life. There should be a metamorphosed life. There should be a accelerated life after reading a piece of poetry. That is the philosophy by Shelley we get. Poetry touches the depth of human nature. The depth of human nature. The human nature is exposed by different poems. So two functions of poetry major to create, that we can conclude function of poetry by two simple methods. One method is to create a new material of knowledge, power, pleasure. That is the primary method of function. All right, all these functions, 5 to 6 functions, may be concluded by the two-folded way he says in the poetry. First method, main function, to create a new material of knowledge. To create a new material of knowledge, power and pleasure. Knowledge should be there, power should be there, pleasure should be there. Second one, to beget a desire to reproduce and arrange this material to certain rhythm. All right, there should be a rhythm in the poem. So above knowledge, above pleasure, above power, to be written in a correct order, then you will get a rhythmical, musical development, musical organization by the different types of words. These are what we called different types and functions of poetry as per Shelley. So Shelley is a great poet. Once you get a chance, you read his West Wind and Skylark. Definitely once you go for PG classes, these poems will have to be learned by yourself in the later. So I wish you all the best. Let us go to yet another topic. Very modern writer T.S. Eliot in the next class. Till that moment, goodbye.